Praise be to the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Thank you, Hashem, for returning this weakling soul to this weakling body so I can embrace the greatest day of my life. I just fucking love you. I finally finished. I got confirmation from Aristotle last night that I leveled up. I leveled up my syllogistical thought thinking processes. Disease. Well, we just finished chapter 22 of the first book of Prior Analytics. So I'm officially halfway through. So fucking excited. Oh, there's my man. Let's see. The trick. Trick is to accept when people want to give you things. Trust that it's the Lord. Trust that it's the Lord letting you know that you deserve to receive. I just received the greatest present ever from who? From my mom. Thank you, Hashem. I got dinner and lunch at the Chinese buffet house. It's my favorite fucking thing ever. If you want to make me happy, if you want to make me a happy man, all you gotta do is take me to the China house. When my son was small, where we used to live, there was a Harley store right down the street. He used to hate this. But my ex-wife and we used to torment him. So we drive past the Harley place. Yo, motorcycle house. Shoot up. It's not even funny. If it wasn't funny, I wouldn't be laughing. Fuck out of here, bud. I'm in a good mood because of my revelations with Aristotle. Well, we just spent. I've been working on this book. I've been working through this book for going on like 3 months now. Syllogism is not for fucking the faint of heart. And if you don't know on interpretation, if you haven't worked through on interpretation, don't even bother. And if you haven't fucked with categories, don't waste your time with fucking on interpretation. Because legit, everything that's in the one is preparing you for what's in the next one. Does that make sense? Because you can't. It's not obvious until you start working through on interpretation that what you're getting into is predicated on what you learn at the end of categories. And what's at the end of categories is predicated on the very first page of categories. But then even once you get into on interpretation, it's not obvious that we're working with affirmations and negations until maybe a couple chapters in. Once Aristotle lays the foundation for nouns and verbs and sentences and syllables. But even in the very beginning of that book, if you can't get past that first fucking paragraph, you're fucked. You might as well put the fucking thing down, throw it in the goddamn fire, and never look back again. I mean, listen, anyone is free to prove me wrong on that. And I'm gonna go even a step harder and say that ain't nobody fucking reading Aristotle and knowing exactly what the fuck this dude is talking about, because for one, I was lied to my entire life. I was taught that grammar just has to do with the English language. Fuck that shit. They ain't got nothing to do with nothing. That bullshit grammar that we learned in elementary school, that ain't grammar. That ain't shit. This is like... This is a whole different way of fucking thinking. Grammarianism. I didn't even know there was such a thing as a grammarian. What the hell is a grammarian? A fucking master of grammar. So you have good penmanship? You can speak eloquently? Oh, fuck no. No, grammar teaches you how to use your mind. It teaches you how to think, not what to think. And the nice thing about the way that Aristotle teaches it, he doesn't tell you how to do it. He just throws the concepts at you and leaves it up to you to figure it out on your own goddamn self. But then I guess that also comes down to how much you even got in your mind. How much you got in your mind that you actually need to be using this stuff for. So I guess it really comes down to the audience, the needs of the reader. Because if you ain't got a lot of stuff going on in your mind, it don't even matter. Don't even worry about it. What the fuck do you need to know what a syllogism is? Now, someone like me, I didn't even know I needed syllogism until I got syllogism in my life. And maybe that's the way with everybody, but... See, my thing with that too is, like I was saying, I can't fuck with that guy. And I know I'm saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I'm talking about myself. I hope somebody can read Aristotle, just read Aristotle cold and be like, duh. But that's some shit that, I don't know. I'm a slow man. I'm very slow. I'm slow on the uptake. M-O-O-N, the spell's moon. But through the first 22 chapters of prior analytics is so far. I mean, I could be patting myself on the back early here. But the first 22 chapters, the first book's 48 chapters long. And mind, the chapters, it's not like a 10 pages chapters. Some of the chapters are only like maybe a couple paragraphs long. Some of them are like 10, 20 paragraphs? Maybe not 20. I wouldn't go that far. Well, you know, that's another thing. His paragraphs are really long. So when I study Aristotle, when I'm studying under him, it's not that I'm not just reading it. I'm writing it out, sentence by sentence, and then writing about whatever comes to mind. Literally sentence by sentence, that's it. Take it piece by piece. Because I think a big part of it has to do with the fact that are we all learned in bicameral mind theory? Are we at least familiar with it? I'm not learned. I don't know shit about it. I only know the basics. And what I do know, a lot of it I've had to kind of just make up as I go. But bicameral mind theory was developed by Julian Jaynes in the 70s. And I believe it was his way of trying to understand consciousness. So what he had concluded, this is like real basic bitch shit. I don't know the details of it. Why don't you read the book? I have the book. I have to find the time to read the book. Do you understand? It's not like I can just stop everything I'm doing just to read this book. Knowing the basics is all I need right now. When did you learn about it? A couple years back. So basically, your brain is 2 hemispheres. You got 2 hemis. You got right hemi and left hemi. And the idea is that each brain generates a specific conscious field. And now what's interesting about that is that if you start applying other psychoanalytical theories in with it, fucking alarms, man. This is how you know they're working. That's why it's good to have reminders on your phone. Because once it starts to piss you off, then you know, okay, all right, I fucking get it. I'm the king of the Jews. I get it. Thank you, Hashem. But then once you start applying other psychoanalytical theories with bicameral mind, it starts to take on a new life. Because realistically what we can do is we take Jung's anima and animus and then apply that idea to the bicameral mind theory. Where we got the feminine and we have the masculine. You have the logic, you have the intellect, and you have the imagination. See, because something I picked up on studying On the Creation by Philo of Alexandria. He's giving a breakdown. He's attempting to give as watered down of a breakdown summation, as watered down a summation of the creation process through which God went in order to create the universe. And in doing so, he's using an analogy of a man who's trying to build a city. How that man, he needs to sketch out the city and use his intellect to sketch out the city via his imagination. Because the ultimate goal is to produce a thing that is perceptible by the external senses. Those are your 5 senses. So now, he says specifically the external senses, which if we're gonna really think about it and not just take him for his word, but just like actually really think about what he's talking about. If he's talking about external senses, what he's not telling us about is the internal senses. But at the same time, he is by not actually spelling it out for us like fucking kindergartners. Because I suppose it should really be it should be obvious in that the model for which the physical thing is shaped from is perceptible only to the intellect. In conjunction with the imagination. So we know that, so based on that, he doesn't really need to tell us. He doesn't need to tell us. But we can presume, and even if we're wrong, you know what, fuck it, I'm not wrong. It makes sense to me. That the external senses being the ears, your tongue, your nose, your eyes, your skin, and then the internal senses would be the intellect and the imagination. And I'm pointing them out specifically like that because what's that idea where the left brain is the logic brain, right? That would be your intellect, logic and reason, and then this is your abstract creative brain, which would be your imagination. But why would you go masculine and feminine? Because the one is more the... why? Active, passive? The intellect's more active, where the imagination is more of a passive quality. You need to use your intellect to do the things, but then your imagination you use to kind of visualize what it is that you're actually going to do. And what Philo goes on about is how when we read creation, when we read the process of creation through Genesis, that maybe also what we're looking at is God's thought process, where he's actually developing the intellectual properties through the intellectual archetypes that the manifest universe are going to be predicated upon. So before you can create, man, you have to have you have to know what it is that you're creating and why you're creating it. For instance, we don't need when he separates the waters and creates the sky, the heavens, and the earth. Like, what are you using them for? What's the purpose of them? Why do you have all that water? What you doing with all that water, bruh? Well, that's why I got all the swarming and swimming things and all the fishes and the sea monsters. They get to live in the water. Because if I didn't have water, they wouldn't have anywhere to live. And the same thing with the birds. These are like my prototypes. Those are the prototypes to see if this project's even going to work. Or even we can go 2 days prior. We can go 2 days back, because that's on day 4. Or I'm sorry, that's on day 5. Let's go back to day 3, where we get the plants, all foliage and the lush greenery. Now, these are prehistoric plants. They aren't necessarily feeding off of the sun. That's why we don't need the sun just yet. Because God's still in the creation process. God is the source of light. God is the one that's supplying the plants with all the light that they need. Another way you could say that is at this point in creation, the universe is not as expanded as it is right now. So maybe we're still, instead of that sun, we have we're closer to the central sun. The central sun, the central fucking black, what is now the black hole at the center of the galaxy. How about that? Start thinking about it. Start fucking putting your brain to use. And maybe instead of taking a shit and wiping our ass with Genesis, we can actually start like thinking about it in more logical and rational ways by using our imagination. Or even going, hey, Hashem, my Lord, can you help me understand it better so that we can explain the creation process in a way that is scientifically sound? Is that impossible? No, it's not impossible? Oh, okay, thank you, my Lord. I love you too. I appreciate you. I love you more than I love myself. Which then disproves my ex-wife's theory that I only know how to love myself. No, bitch. I know how to love my God more than I know how to love me. How about that? I'm listening to I'm done. When I was married, this was like... Is he gonna say coffin cats? Yeah. Drunk in the daylight. I love day drinking. I love day drinking so much. But I've been listening to Coffin Cats all morning. It's been a while. We used to go see this band a lot. Back in the times where we were married, when we were still together. And we eventually got married, and we went to Vegas, and it just happened to be like literally right before, like, I don't know, maybe like a week or two before we left, I think. Maybe the week we left, I found out that Coffin Cats were going to be playing like maybe a couple miles away from the Hard Rock that we were staying at. And at that point, we were kind of friendly with these dudes. They're all very cool guys. So every time that we would see them by us, eventually we would build a rapport with them, and we'd chit chat with them. So when we got to go see them in Vegas, it was fucking dope. Because you walk in, and then the lead singer of the band, Vic, he's like, "Whoa, what are you guys doing here? A little far away from New Jersey, yeah? Yeah, sir." But now dialing back, the Aristotelian process, bicameral mind theory, the left and right hemi of the brain, Jung, animus, anima, animus. But now we can go even further. And I don't know this dude's work too much. This is more my ex-wife's thing, with Freud. And you have the three levels of consciousness. You got the superego, the ego, and the id, right? Am I doing that right, baby girl? Am I doing that right? The superego, the ego, and the id. But now check this out, because we can apply that. We can now bring a third dimension into our cauldron of Julian, Jaynes, Jung, and Freud. So you got the superego, we got the human brain, we got the ego, the animal brain, which makes a lot of sense, and then we have the id, and I think I'm doing that right. Then we got the id, which would be the reptilian brain. So if you know Freud better than me, you know that order better than I do, the ascending order of it, ascending order of it. Feel free to correct me. Now, something about the reptilian brain that I learned from my reptilian brain, and Hashem, thank you again, Hashem, right? So, the idea is that the reptilian brain, the R complex, is like the most primitive, right? It's the oldest. That it controls drink, fight, fuck, right? Fight or flight, all that other shit. But now that's assuming that there's no intelligence. There's no innate intelligence to that mind, to that brain, which is just silly goose talk. Because obviously it's the oldest, so it's gonna know the most because it's experienced the most. I know it's primitive, but even consciousness has a primitive form, because we have to recognize that humans today, like, we think we're smart because we use smartphones. And we write really shitty books about really what could be interesting topics, but we're so dry in our execution that it bores people to fucking death. And the only reason I'm doing this is so that I can get a job that pays me a shit ton of money, which I'm gonna end up hating anyway. I'm thinking specifically of Python programming. You would make a really good programmer. I know that. That's why I'm learning it. So when we that's just my own model. I mean, you can feel free to use your own. That's a model I use for myself. This conscious model, because there is that potential that not everyone's going to agree with me because somebody told you to think a certain way. See, I'm a little bit different like that. Like, I don't necessarily need someone to tell me what to think. And this goes back to what I was saying with Aristotle. It's like, we learn how to think, not what to think. And I think that's a big problem, is that we don't have that man that man's logic and reason being taught in schools, because it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And what we consider grammar with writing, that's not even scratching the surface. That's not scratching the surface. What he's teaching us is how to like actually turn our mind into a filing cabinet. I'd be a really good teacher too. That's why when I have more children, they're not going to public school. They're banned from public school. And as a matter of fact, my idea is that my children, my future children, not if when, but my future children, I'm going to do for my future children what I wasn't allowed to do with my other child, which is actually raise them right. And that's going to be, they're going to wear a burqa. They're going to have a burqa. Do you know why? Because I don't want human beings, they're too good for humans to lay their eyes on. I've actually thought about wearing a burqa. My future bride-to-be, I'm going to make that, before we're married, I'm going to make that suggestion to her. It's like, when we go out in public, do you mind if we just wear burqas? This way people can't see us. Do you know that Moses actually wore a burqa? Well, he wore a veil. That's the same fucking difference. You get what I'm talking about, though. They got to a point in Moses' job training, that once they had the tabernacle set up and Moses had a place to actually go and be secluded with God so that he can do his work, it said that every time he would come out of the tent of meeting, the tent of gathering, that he would be glowing. His skin would literally be glowing. And it got to a point where he had to wear a veil so that people couldn't see his face. And I understand the idea behind that. If you ever listen to that band Sleep Token, the guy that sings calls himself Vessel for good reason. And if you ever seen their performance, if you ever seen their how they present themselves while they perform, he wears they all wear masks, but he wears a very specific mask that covers up most of his face. And I read a little bit of an interview with him, and he went on to say, and this made so much fucking sense, is that he can't do what he does if he doesn't wear it. In the sense that when he's performing, when he's doing his work, he needs to detach from the human identity that he carries. And not so much go into character, because that's not character. He's not going into character. He's allowing that essence, that entity, for lack of a better term, that entity to enter him and use his body as a vessel to do his thing. That's why you listen to fucking Sleep Token. It's like, oh my God, this shit fucking goes deep. That's hitting frequencies conscious frequencies that I'm not normally used to. God damn it. Feelings. Lots of feelings. So many feelings. So that's essentially what we can apply that same logic to what Moses was doing, because Moses was this nigga. He had to fucking speak for God, for a group of people that were scared shitless, for one. These people are still, what the fuck just happened? What in the literal fuck just happened? It's not like everybody just bought into what Moses was saying either. Like there was a lot of resistance to him. A lot of people died rebelling against him. Some people saw Moses as a dictator. They thought that he was just trying to become a new dictator. And to a degree, that may not be necessarily wrong. The man was entrusted with a degree of power that was not known on earth prior to him. Niggas thought they knew it. Niggas like Pharaoh, they thought they knew the power, but you think you know the way, but you do not know the way. My son used to say that to me. I never understood what it meant. I mean, I understood what it meant, but I used to think, this little nigga fucking talking to me like that. Don't know the way. Nigga, you don't know the way. But now that I'm a much older man now, I can look back and go, oh, no, he was right. I think I know the way, but I do not know the way. Well, I mean, I know. I'm talking about then. I didn't know the way then. Now is a different story, obviously. Thank you, Hashem. Who are you arguing with? I'm arguing with God. I'm not arguing with God. He's like, what do you mean you don't know the way? Like, you know the way. You've been walking the way. I know I'm walking the way. The way is called Derek Hashem. Is that why you call yourself Derek? No, that's my name. So when Moses had to do his thing, he's got to tell these people, he's got to speak for God. That's why he's the greatest prophet of all time. Joseph was a hell of a prophet. Joseph was a fucking beast. But the responsibilities that Joseph had in relation to the responsibilities that Moses had, it doesn't even compare. Well, what about Jesus? What about Rabbi Jesus? You don't think he was the greatest prophet? Listen, Rabbi Jesus was on a completely different mission. Rabbi Jesus was a motherfucker of a prophet. When me and Moses are looking at Rabbi Jesus right now, and even Moses is going, God damn, holy shit, this guy took one for the team like that. Because you gotta understand, like in Deuteronomy, we find out, when you study the law, Jesus paid the ultimate price for transgressing the law. You don't know this. You don't know this unless you know Torah. Unless you study the goddamn law, you don't know that Jesus broke the law. That's why he died. He didn't just fucking die. He took one for the team. Someone had to do it. Jesus was a false prophet. That's why he had to die. But he had to do it in a way that was most blatantly obvious. How dare you blaspheme? It wasn't his choice. He didn't do it because he wanted to do it. He did it because he didn't have a fucking choice. He could have been the prophet. He could have, but it's right in the fucking beginning of Matthew. What are you talking about, bruh? Right in the fucking beginning of Matthew, when he tells Satan, do you know who Satan is? You know who Satan is? You fucking idiot. The Satan's inside. The Satan is the collective fucking ego. The collective ego is a reflection of the internal ego. When Jesus is being tempted by Satan, he's being tempted by himself. By his inner self. The dark side of his soul, the dark side of his Shekinah. Jesus Christ was the first Antichrist. There weren't none other before him. This dude was going to places where not even Moses could go. That's why in the Jewish book called the New Testament, the Jewish book of the New Testament, they say that Jesus was greater than Moses. But greater doesn't mean better. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about soul levels. They're on level playing field. Well, we're talking about I guess is that right? Is that how I put it? I love that. Each prophet, their soul, their name is representative of the rank of their Yechida. What's a Yechida? Yechida is the highest level of the soul. It's the highest level of the Jewish soul. The Jewish soul comes in 5 forms. There's the neshama, there's the rush, there is the nefesh. I don't know number 4, bear with me. And then number 5 is the Yechida. And the Yechida is the highest level that one can achieve. It means individual. When you meet prophets like Moses, Joseph, Yaakov, Isaac, Avram, Rabbi Jesus, these guys, they were acting from their Yechida. Their Yechida was full control. Levels of the soul. What's the for the chaya? Well, this is how Google, the AI overview. Oh God. The nefesh. Why you got the neshama all the way down there? You're making neshama seem like, oh well, maybe. The nefesh, the physical and psychological nature of a person, which is present in all humans and enters the body at birth. It's the lowest level of the soul and is the level that humans share with animals. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. The rush, the connection between the nefesh and the neshama, and the cause of feelings and personal qualities. Oh! I haven't, well, okay. The neshama is the intellectual level of the soul. Then the chaya is the spiritual level of the soul. And then the akita is another level of the soul consciousness. All right. I gotta go back to, you know what? The annual Tanya cycle is gonna begin again soon. Tanya. It's a collection of works that were put together by Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi. He's one of he's the father of Hasidism, of Chabad. The Hasidic movement. Rabbi Zalman, you don't fuck with Rabbi Zalman. We'll put it like that. Tanya, I haven't read all of Tanya, but I have read up to chapter 24. So I'm not completely unlearned with it. Like, I do understand the concept of the Benoni, and he who, oh boy. Well, what's interesting about the whole Benoni factor is how it actually forms a pentachoron. If you attempt to visualize the concept that Rabbi Zalman is explaining in the very beginning of the book, when he's talking about the Benoni, and how the Benoni then kind of travels within the area of the four spectrums of the righteous man who suffers, the righteous man who prospers, the wicked man who prospers, and the wicked man who suffers. So those are the four degrees, the four-dimensional degrees through which a person can experience life. And the Benoni is you're the Benoni. But what is interesting about that is that we can form a pentachoron, which is a five-dimensional pyramid. It's a five-dimensional pyramid. So if you think of a pyramid, what the fuck is a five-dimensional pyramid? A six-dimensional pyramid. That's the pentacle, right? Hashem, help me with that, because there's the four extremes, the 4 points, the 4 connection points, the 4 corners at the base. Those are the first 4 dimensions, and then Benoni sits at the top. But then now Rabbi Zalman doesn't get into this, and I have no choice. Hashem, I don't have a choice. Do it in a way that doesn't make you sound so egoic. So, now, the 6th dimension is the origin point that you find at the very center of the pentachoron, from which all of the previous dimensions emanate from. Now, we can go a little bit further, right? So now that center point, that origin point, think of it almost like the center of a circle. Where's the centermost point of a circle? Anywhere you want it to be, of a sphere, technically, right? So basically, what that center point represents, it can move. It can move forwards, backwards, up, down, diagonal, left and right, and then explore the range, explore the temperamental, am I using the word right? Explore the temperamental range of those 4 dimensions of existence. Or maybe even 4 dimensions of consciousness. The righteous man who suffers, the righteous man who prospers, the wicked man who prospers, and the wicked man who suffers. So, and what's interesting is as you explore that spectrum, what you eventually come to find out is that they're all the same thing. One man's wickedness is another man's righteousness. One man's suffering is another man's prosperity. You know what I mean? It just depends on the person. Now what I like to do personally, and I think I think my Chabad brothers and sisters might appreciate this, is that center point, that origin point, we then divide that up into two. So we add two more dimensions to this. So Benoni, the concept of Benoni is then split up between Yosef and Yehuda, and how that works is, well, Joseph is more the difference between Joseph and Judah is the difference between Rachel and Leah. So one is more physical, the other is more internal. The one is more feeling, intuitive, while the other is more instinctual. So yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Intuition is more of a feminine quality, while instinct is more of a masculine. Right? So then now you have both of those. We have all of that within us. So now those two aspects of ourselves are kind of swirling around and fucking just swimming through this spectrum of pain and pleasure and reward and defeat. It's a lot. But what I was getting at is that I have to go back to that book, because Rabbi Zalman, he gives a breakdown of the levels of the soul. Now, granted, he only gives a breakdown of the first 3 levels. He doesn't get into the Yehida. So I don't, because I remember specifically that he breaks down. I thought the neshama was the lowest level, but now that we're seeing it, what makes a Jew a Jew? A Jew has an activated neshama. Like if you're gonna go, why do people need to go in through the conversion process? You have to go through the conversion process to become a Jew, which is the doors are closing, by the way. So if you want to get in on that, you gotta hurry the fuck up, right? Because once Mashiach reveals himself, once the Lord reveals Mashiach, then the door is shut. And no more. All right, maximum capacity. Sorry, nothing we can do. As people leave, we might be able to bring more people in. So, one of the lessons on Chabad.org was like, what makes a Jew a Jew? And the answer was a neshama. A Jew has a neshama. Every soul has the potential to reach the rank of a neshama. But everybody starts at the nefesh. And then apparently the rosh is that connection point. Now when you go through the conversion process, once you go through your mikvah, that activates, essentially it turns on your neshama. And at that point, your Jewishness is not predicated on your ancestry, like the rest of us, but your Jewishness is predicated on the fact that your neshama is now activated. Now, the difference between a converted Jew and a heretical Jew, right? Am I using that word right? Ancestral Jew? Is that the ancestral Jews, they have ancestral DNA that links them back directly to Abraham. Now everybody else, anybody who does not have a direct connection to Abraham through Jesus and Joseph, Jesus and Joseph. Well, I mean, let me take that back. Because that's what I was saying about how Jesus was the false prophet. Yeah, yes. Because he didn't have the connection back through Joseph. And that's not going to matter to anyone, that should matter to everyone. That should absolutely matter to everyone. Because if Joseph doesn't have a connection back to Joseph, if Jesus doesn't have a connection back to Joseph, then he isn't who you were told he was. You understand? All you gotta do is just go to the book of Ezekiel. You can skip through the whole fucking. I highly recommend you read it from the beginning all the way to the end, just so you get to know Ezekiel a little bit better. But if you really need to rush to the information, you can skip to chapter 37 of the book of Ezekiel, is verses 15 to 25, I believe. It's in the Jewish book of the New Testament. You can find it. It's titled under. It's categorized under one nation under one king, which is where the Lord gives Ezekiel the genetic blueprint of who Mashiach is, and it's not just David. Yeah, you asking, oh, the fucking son of David. Yes, the son of David and the son of Joseph at the same time. Yeah, but how? I don't know. That's what I'm still trying to figure out. That's literally what I'm trying to figure out. Well, you know what? Son of David, daughter of Joseph. Right? Because he needs to have the Egyptian blood. Because Joseph wasn't Egyptian, I know, but his two sons were. His two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and if we read the book of Kings, specifically Kings 1, and again, if you need to fucking skip through, I'm not a fan of this. I think you got to read it from the fucking beginning. But if you really need to know, it's in chapter 11, right around 1138 to 1139, right where God is so appalled at the behavior of King Solomon that he strips the line of Judah, the line of David, out of Israel. You're banned, nigga. Get the fuck out of here. You're done. You fucked up one too many times. You get to keep the kingdom of Judah. That's it. And the only reason is because of your father. If it wasn't for your father, you'd be fucked. Believe me. That's not an empty threat from some scumbag ex-father-in-law either. That's a threat from God. That's a promise from God. And trust me, if my ex-father-in-law had the balls to say some shit like that to me, that's because he's too afraid to fucking say it to himself, because that's the shit I should be saying to you, fucking motherfucker. If it wasn't for the fact that your father begs me not to fucking rip your goddamn head off, your father and your mother. If it wasn't for your father and your mother, I would fucking burn your entire house down. Just like the fucking Harkonnens did to the Atreides. That's what I would do to the fucking you motherfuckers. Let it out. Scumbag people. Those people at the bottom of the barrel. Those are the people that when people say bumbleclot, you fucking bumbleclot. That they're talking about my ex-in-laws. You feel better? Thank you. So when God kicked the line of David out of Israel, what he did was he gave it to the line of Ephraim. Again, you got to read your Bible. He gave Israel to Ephraim. Ephraim was the son of Joseph. And mind, we're talking about the guy's name was Jeroboam. Jeroboam was a descendant of Ephraim, and Ephraim was the son of Joseph. Why did God specifically choose Ephraim? Because at the end of Jacob's life, he anointed his two grandsons to be sons of his. The only two grandchildren that gained an inheritance. And when he anointed them, he crossed his hands like that. And he put his right hand on the smaller one and his left hand on the older one. And Joseph even said, this is where Joseph fucked up. Father, you fucked up. You fucked up. You put your right hand, because the right hand is the dominant one. You put your right hand on the younger boy. Now, there are no mistakes. Now, even if we go back a little bit further, when Joseph finally reveals his identity to his brothers, he says to them, so it wasn't you who sent me here. It was God. And he made me the father of Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the Egyptian form of the word king. So right in Genesis, we know that Ephraim is going to grow up to be the king. He was anointed to be the king at the very before Genesis even ends. He was the rightful king the whole time. It's just that Judah had the birthright, so to speak, from his mother's side. There was 2 wives. Judah wasn't even the oldest. Judah was like the 3rd or 4th oldest, and the only reason that he got anointed as the birthright leader is because his other brothers fucked up. That's how fucked up these guys were. They were fuck ups. And then even if you follow Judah's bloodline, they're all fuck ups. Judah's 4th son, his 4th son, right? Is it his 4th son or 5th son? Perez and his twin brother. They were whore sons, essentially, because Judah had sex with a prostitute who got pregnant. But he found out later that quote prostitute was his daughter-in-law. That's how, like, ugh. But then again, you gotta also remember that King David comes from the line of Lot as well, through Moab. So the incest baby. So that whole line is all fucked up. But how could you say that? Well, I'm just saying what he's telling me. Listen, I'm using modern language. But if we go to Ezekiel, Mashiach, the king, the actual king, not Jesus, is descended from David and from Ephraim. David links matrilineally. David links us back to Leah. And Ephraim links us back to Rachel. But what more important is that his mother, Ephraim's mother, is a priestess of Isis from Egypt. So it's not just David. Oh, David, the son of David. Yeah, it's the son of David and the son of Joseph. Just say it fucking right. Just say it right. You don't have to constantly do that. It's fucking annoying. It's triggering as fuck. The son of Joseph and the son of Ephraim. Just say that. Start saying that. If you're a Jew and you're going to say that shit about the Mashiach, you got to say it right. Because you're talking about the wrong fucking guy. You keep saying, oh, the son of David, the son of David. You're talking about Jesus, you fuck. But Jesus didn't have the thing, didn't go back to fucking Joseph. It's just not how it is. And if we find out that Jesus was actually a descendant of Joseph, you guys are fucked, by the way. Jesus knew what he was fucking doing. And I don't know why Jews are so it's like fucking kryptonite. When we talk about the Jewish book of the New Testament, it's like fucking kryptonite to the other one Jews. Why? Because you don't want to see the truth. You don't want to see the fact that you got fucked with the guys that your religion is predicated. Your religion is predicated. Is bullshit. That's man's law. Rambam was a genius. He was a maverick in what he was doing. But he was a bullshit artist just like the rest of the fathers. Even the prince. Oh, I didn't do this for glory. Bullshit, you didn't. You motherfuckers have been doing it for glory the whole time. That's all you do is fucking pat yourselves on the back. Even Josephus saw it. Josephus literally saw it. In the beginning of fucking the Antiquities of the Jews, he's talking about you guys. The guys who like to pat themselves on the back. Hey, good job there, guy. Good job, good job, good job. I'm not going to tell you how great I am, but I'm going to let you tell everybody how great I am. The false fucking sense of modesty. And don't say that you are not self-righteous. You are too. I know that because we come from the same family. And I'm fucking self-righteous as a motherfucker. I'm the most self-righteous. Thank you, Hashem. For making me perfect. In your image. The most perfect neshama. The most perfect chaya. The most perfect yechida. The most perfect nefesh. The most perfect rosh. Thank you, Hashem. It would be nothing without you. Your perfection is so much more perfect than my perfection. Talk like a crazy person. Nah, I know. Have you ever met a Jew that doesn't talk weird? What are we talking on this? Only an hour? So, now dialing it all back. Right? One day I would love to make a video where I don't have to get into all this. Obviously, you want me to get into it for a reason, yeah? I wouldn't have you do it if it wasn't important. It's got to be said. And someone's got to say it, and if no one's saying it, nigga, you took an oath with me, capital M, to serve me to your highest and greatest ability. And if this is what I need you to do right now, this is what you're going to fucking do. I know you want to talk about the syllogism and the Aristotle, but right now I need you to talk about that because what you're doing is prophet work. And remember, just like I told Moses, your job isn't to change Pharaoh's mind. Your job is just to fucking go there, do the thing, and then that's it. Let me take care of the rest. You just say the things. He can't do shit anyway. That's why I elevated Moses to a god, a lowercase g god status, because he's the only person that could stand up to Pharaoh. Because if anybody else, if any other human being in the entire world went up to Pharaoh and said the shit that Moses said, Pharaoh would have taken his human head off and revealed his cobra fucking face and eaten them. That's why Pharaoh didn't do nothing but laugh at him. Because he couldn't do shit. And that's why the other Pharaoh, that's why that motherfucker, he rolled over on his belly real quick for Joseph. Joseph didn't even have to tell him. Pharaoh just took the ring off and he said, "Here, this is yours. This belongs to you. Here, run my country." Yeah, but exciting news is that I finally leveled up my syllogistic thought processes. And it's funny because last night, as we were closing out chapter 22, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what the hell is going to come next? What could possibly come next? I have gotten so many. We have literally gone through every configuration possible on how to and not to achieve syllogism. Now, mind you, I ain't no fucking syllogistic expert, but I can tell you, I can break a syllogism down and show you where all the pieces are. I'm still learning, like the seeds are planted. The seeds are planted. And now it's just a matter of being able to, but here's the thing with syllogism, thank you Hashem, is that syllogism isn't just an intellectual concept. Like, you do have to use your feelings in there too, because and this is something that we learn from on interpretation, is that you can't it's not just about blindly accepting something. You need to feel it in order for it to find the truth of that thing. So something I noticed while learning the configurations of syllogism, is that when you achieve syllogism, whether imperfect or perfect, now mind you, a perfect syllogism feels completely different than an imperfect syllogism. But at the same time, an imperfect syllogism can be perfected through the means of the first figure syllogisms and being reduced down. So essentially, if you're familiar with the alchemical process at all of turning lead into gold, what we're doing with syllogism is quite literally Greek alchemy. Because what syllogism is doing, we're relating two things together, but in order to relate those two things together, in order to achieve some form of predication between the two, we need to find a middle ground for which the two of them are themselves not necessarily predicated on, but potentially predicated of. So without having a third element, a third dimension to the syllogistic process, you're not going to achieve shit. We can say that black and white are this and that, but unless you have another thing to place in the middle of this and or that, then we're not going to really get anywhere. So now I know we're breaking free of three-dimensional thinking, and this is where we were going with Julian Jaynes before, because part of Julian Jaynes' theory of bicameral mind is that in these ancient times, specifically, how I understand it, specifically he uses the Greeks as the basis for his theory, in that where in the modern realm, in this modern world that we're living in, even over the past several decades, we're conditioned, we're trained to predominantly use our left hemisphere, the left hemisphere of our brain, over the right hemisphere of the brain. So what Julian was prescribing through his theory was that perhaps it's not impossible to think that these ancient people, that they had more, they weren't under the same social conditioning that we were in, and were able to access aspects of their right hemi that we today have been conditioned out of. So when we have something like schizophrenia, for instance, and I think I just kind of breezed through the wiki. Did he say wiki? Yeah, the wiki. When we breeze through the wiki, or maybe not even the wiki. I don't remember. I might have watched a fucking video or something. I'm just going off the basics, the basic ideas. What are you doing now? Just changing the song. There's a fucking dude puking. I don't feel like listening to this. Oh, fuck it. Put this one back on. When we come up against something like schizophrenia, which is a human invention, by the way, it's not real. When we come up to schizophrenia or any kind of mental disorder, what we have to really start paying attention to now is it actually a disorder, or is that, quote, disorder kind of like a red flag going off? Hey, there is something wrong, but it's because of you. It's because of the medication. It's because of gaslighting. I dare you, prove me the fuck wrong on this. Every mental disorder is the product of gaslighting. Everything. There is no such thing as mental disorders. Oh yeah, prove it. Fuck you. You prove it. Because you know I'm right. But from what I understand, I don't want to put words in a man's mouth. You can read the book for yourself, or I got to read it too. So we'll find out. Is that something like schizophrenia is an overdominance of the right brain, and because people aren't trained on how to use their right brain, it gets prescribed as a mental disorder, and they get locked up in a loony bin. And then in the old days, when these men We're channeling gods and writing stories like the Iliad and the Odyssey. And even when we go into some shit like fucking, like Aristotle, because that ain't normal thinking. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's cunt. Can't understand normal thinking. Because normal thinking today is like retardation back then. You fucking, if we could travel back in time, no, fuck that shit. Let's invoke the spirit of fucking Aristotle. You guys are fucking retarded. You guys are retarded. I was watching a short on Facebook, and there was this girl, I think she had fake tits, and she was sitting with her legs crossed, wearing like really short shorts, and talking about how much she loves giving head. It's just her favorite thing. She gets lost in it. And I'm just like, I'm looking at this, and I can appreciate a well thought out blowjob. I can. But just listening to a woman talk like that, especially to another man, that's fucking disgusting. What they were doing, it was a podcast. It was just fucking disgusting. It's trash talk. That's trash people talk. I'm not saying there ain't nothing wrong with being a whore. Go for it. Go for it. But keep your titties in your shirt. Alright? Ain't nobody, not everybody needs to see your titties all day. I'm sure you put in a lot of money for them titties, but just pack them up. Save them for the guy that you're giving the blowjobs to. Save your titties for him. Don't be fucking going on fucking a national or whatever the fuck. A shitty podcast. I don't ever, God forbid, I ever have to fucking listen to that shit. Or those fucking stupid ass videos of Between Two Ferns. And listen, I laugh my ass off at Zach Beardman, but the fucking guy's a scrub. The people that are on his show are scrubs. That's scrub shit. That's dumb shit. My brother was showing me a TikTok of some guy that he literally makes noises like this. He makes fucking retard noises. That's entertainment to you fucking dum-dums. You ever see Rick and Morty? You ever see Rick and Morty? I'm visualizing this right now. This is my crowd. This is my stage. I say, boo! Boo! The Queen of Filth! Boo! That was a Princess Bride reference. And then Rick looks down at these fucking, these scrubs. These fucking animals. I see what entertains you people. Your boos, every boo that you give me boosts my self-esteem. That's not the exact quote, I know that. I just, what is fucking with? What's the with? Lord, what the fuck? It's like fucking, this is worth that. I would have a better conversation going into the goddamn monkey town at the goddamn Philadelphia Zoo. The fucking monkey town. God forbid you even fucking tell them that they're monkeys. You know what they'll fucking do? The fuck? Nigga, who the fuck are you talking to called a monkey? Sorry. You fucking idiots think just because you wear pants and a belt. Do you even wear a belt? Just because you're a whore women go on fucking podcasts and talk about how much they love giving blowjobs. Jesus Christ. Keep your blowjob business to yourself, ladies. And what's this new thing I keep on saying? I fucking hate watching these. I feel like such a scumbag watching it. But then I look at these guys, I'm like, what a scumbag. And like, I then consider like, well, what would you do in that same situation? I don't know. I feel like I would just go away. Kiss or slap. Kiss or slap. You? Nah, I'll pass. My monkey brain and my fucking erection want to say yes. Both. both. But you and me are doing both to each other at the same time. How about that? Like, get the fuck out of here. Leave me alone. Stupid kisser slap. What the fuck is that shit? Stop being whores. It's fucking disgusting. You don't jerk off or watch porn? I watch both. I watch cam girls because I can't watch another dude. Like, it's fucking gross. That's disgusting. And even watching that, it's just like, oh God. I prefer just to watch the movie in my head. I like to pretend that I'm the one having sex. Or I'll look in the mirror just like this. If you can masturbate looking in the mirror, look at yourself in the eyes as you orgasm, that's like a superpower. That's what God tells me. Right? What about no spilling your seed? What are you talking about? It's not spilling it. Spilling means wasting. It's going to a good purpose. You ever hear of sex magic? You're rechanneling that energy. Plus I learned a way on how to keep it inside, so nothing comes out, and it just kind of recycles itself. So I'm not wasting anything. It stays within the system. What? You can do that? Yeah. I learned it from what was that dude's name? Asa Akira used to do a podcast with him. Bobby Lee would know who she is. Who he is. They fucking painter. The fuck was his name? I don't remember. But anyway, it's an Asian painter guy. And he likes to gamble. And he's friends with Bobby Lee and Asa Akira. But I learned it from him. And I tried it one day. I'm like, holy shit, it works! No, wasting it, spilling it would be like watching porn. Like jerking off to another guy having sex. Like that's gross. I don't even like porn. You know, I used to watch it a lot. But a couple years ago, I did this experiment where like I would watch like an hour's worth of porn. My favorite porn too. Not just regular porn, just my favorite porn. I would watch it and not do anything. And what ends up happening is, and I highly suggest everybody try this out. I mean, it's a challenge. But you watch it, and eventually the illusion wears off, and you start to realize, like, oh, shit, she doesn't want to be doing that, does she? Oh, no, what am I watching? This isn't good. This isn't good. This is bad. This is really bad. I don't feel good about this in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. But you broke your women. You broke your women, not we. I ain't one of you guys. The Gentilian race I'm talking about. The Gentilian race, you fucking broke your women. That's why in the Bible, that's why once we get into the Tanakh, and there's some fucking pretentious little twat. He's got like a mustache. The Bible prescribes, God calls for genocide. Yeah, exactly. Because you people are fucking animals. That's why the Canaanites had to be fucking wiped out. You're fucking disgusting. And that's why God said, if you're gonna take their women, do not touch the ones that have been touched, because they're tainted. That's why if you see a captive, you can take the virgins, but all the men have to be put to the sword and all the women have to be put to the sword, because all those women they're tainted now with all that gunk, that animal. They fuck animals. That's basically what it is. You don't want a woman who fucks animals. That's disgusting. Two-legged animals. You ever read Dune? I don't know if they got into it. I don't know if they got to it in this much in depth in the movie just because of the fact of how triggering it could be. But in the book version of Dune and the true Dune, when Paul meets the Reverend Mother at the very beginning and she puts his hand in the box with the gom jabber, it's a test to see if he's an animal or a human. Because an animal, and that's where it feels like the fucking skin on his hand is being burnt off. The idea is that under an extremely stressful, painful situation like that, an animal will try to gnaw its arm off and or pull his hand out of the box, which is when the gom jabber would have been ministered and he would have died on the spot. The fuck's a gom jabber? You don't want one inside of you. And that's kind of a thing too. Like human beings today, the Gentilian race, they hijacked the word human. You're not human. You're animals. Like you don't have anybody teaching you how to be a human. That's what Torah does. Torah teaches you how to behave and act like a human. It's slavery. Slavery is fine. Slavery is fine. You're thinking about the wrong kind of slavery. That kind of slavery that you're talking about, our slave laws give rights to the slaves. Did you know that? Or do you just listen to what you read on what you hear and read on the fucking internet? Jewish slave laws actually give rights back to the slaves. So if we go to something like the 13th Amendment, right? So the 13th Amendment, everybody passed themselves on. We don't believe in slavery, but there's loopholes. What about the loopholes? There's no loopholes in Torah. Because of your 13th Amendment, the government took the right to own a slave away from you. You can't enslave somebody, but the government can. The government gives itself the power to enslave its people. And it doesn't give any kind of prescription as to what the conditions are. Only that slavery can be used as a form of punishment for someone who's convicted of a crime. What crime? Does anybody fucking know? Realistically speaking, don't be stupid. Realistically speaking, the government could say it. If you talk out against the ruling party, your punishment is slavery. They can say that. Under the 13th Amendment, the government can do that with impunity, and there ain't shit you can do about it. Now, the slave laws in Torah, they give us a foundation from which to build from. A foundation from which we can recognize the moral code that we need to follow in order to demonstrate that we have the moral fortitude to own a slave, both male and female. Because there's different laws for male slaves than there are from female slaves. And every time that God gives us a law on slaves, he likes to remind us, don't forget. There's a rule, there's a law in Torah. What the American race, what the Americans did to the black slaves, to the Negro slaves, what the Americans did to the slaves is banned. That's illegal. in Torah. You can't do that. What you did, that's bad. You can't be fucking chaining people up. What are you, out of your fucking mind? See, that's the difference. See, you lump everything down because you're so simple-minded. Your brains are so simple. You're simple, basic bitches. I saw some fucking guy, he posted a meme. He posted a meme the other day. If your Bible gives you rules on how to handle slaves, then that is not a code, that's not a book for morality. Meanwhile, then it's got a picture of black slaves. Well, one, dumb, stupid. We're not talking about the Negro slaves from America that were picking the cotton. Those aren't the slaves that we're talking about. That form of slavery is banned. You can't force someone with fucking chains and collars. You out of your goddamn mind. You can't beat your slaves. Well, yeah, you can't beat your slaves. But now here's a question you gotta ask yourself. Because that's the point of Torah. Is that don't just take it. Don't just take it and just go, okay, I can beat my slave, but I just can't. As long as I beat him until he survives for fucking 2 days. As long as he dies from the beating after 48 hours, we're good. And technically, yeah. Technically, yes. A Jew has the right to beat the shit. A Jew and a Samaritan, as a matter of fact. Jews and Samaritans have the right to not just own slaves, but to beat the fucking life. Beat them to a fucking fraction of their life so that they can. Now that motherfucker, once you beat him, once you beat him down, once you beat your slave, he just has to survive for 48 hours. That's it. As long as he can survive, as long as he survives for 48 hours, you're good. But now here's the question. Okay? Because now once we get into Deuteronomy, God makes it very clear. Every Jew, every Samaritan is obligated to study Torah all day, day. You need to know the law, inscribe it into your fucking forehead, inscribe it onto your fucking arm. It has to be all you're thinking about, and everything that you're doing has to be within the guidelines of the law. Think about it when you wake up, think about it before you go to bed. Think about it when you're in the house, think about it when you're out of the house. Write it on the fucking doorposts. Write it on the gates to your fucking house. Now, some Jews take that a little more literally than others, but that's a whole other thing. But while you're studying the law, because we're obligated to be our own lawyers, we have to be able to know the law. Because what God is teaching us to do is absolute sovereignty. Every citizen of the state of Israel, I'm sorry, not the state of Israel. Every citizen of the United Kingdom of Israel is their own king. Your own sovereign. We're trained to be our own sovereign individual. You don't bow down to a master. Not anymore. That's why you were put through what you were put through in Egypt, so that you get the fuck out of there and you can see the difference. So when God talks to us about slaves, don't forget that you were a slave. Don't mistreat these people. And it's very fucking clear. Do not abuse them. But when he says that we could beat the slave, which is employment laws, by the way, are based on this. You're lucky that they give you 2 days off. They're only supposed to give you, based on Torah law, your employer is only obligated to give you 1 day off. 1 day. Employment is the new slavery. Wage slaves, debt slaves. Niggas, you fucking idiots. You got so many shackles on you, you don't even know. Your government has actually made your law so complex that You have to pay someone to know the law for you so that you could sit on your fat ass and do nothing all day when you on your days off. Fucking slobs. Hey, listen, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't speak for any other Jew except for me. My opinions are my own. But the question you need to ask yourself if you're studying Torah, especially when it comes to the slave laws, is, well, what does my slave need to do in order to inspire me to beat the fucking shit out of him to the point that he only has 48 hours left to live? 48 hours and 1 minute. Nigga, I got a stopwatch, just in case. Not even a fucking minute. The fucking second after, the millisecond after the fucking 24th hour of the second day that you're in your fucking coma. That you're in your fucking coma that I put you in. What did you do? What did you do? What did you do to push me to the point that I gotta beat you that fucking badly? I got a soundtrack on, so it's like... Did you feel me though? And by the way, if your constitution doesn't give you slave rights, doesn't actually give your slaves rights, then you better fucking check on your fucking government and ask your government, why did you not fill this out more? Going back to the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment is only fucking 2 sentences long. And by the way, it doesn't Torah law covers I don't want to call it forced slavery, because it's not forced. I didn't force you into slavery. Just because I bought you doesn't mean I didn't force you to do shit, bruh. Now, mind you, I have the right. I could buy you and then just set you free. There's actually laws on what you gotta do. You actually, and that's the thing with Torah too, is our slaves typically, depending on the means in which we acquired the slave, there are instances where, and maybe this might, I have to double check. Hashem, can you help me with that? That's really something that only goes for Hebrew slaves? All right. Well, I mean, as long as you're a Hebrew descendancy, then you only have to serve like 6 years, 6 full years. And then after the 6th year, you're free to go. Go, get the fuck out of here. Now, early on, when that law is first given, it says that after the end of the 6th year, so on the first day of the 7th year, you're free to go. And I could have swore when we were going over this in Exodus, this is around like Exodus chapter 24, you leave with what you got, what you came with. But now, once we get into Deuteronomy, that law changes a little bit. And I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. It says that on the 7th year, when I release you, I have to give you a severance package, like a healthy severance package too. Not like, all right, here's some bread and water, bud. Take a hike. Thanks. But God actually says you have to give them more than what you would give an employee, because they gave you more than what a paid worker would have done. Like you got service from these guys, you got a service from him that is above and beyond what a paid employee would do. So don't skimp out. You take care of him. Make sure that he goes on his way. And even what's another one? Here's another slave law that I love, is if, right, let's say my neighbor has a slave, but he's abusive towards the slave, and the slave leaves. He escapes, and he comes to me, please help me, my master. I can't go back to this fucking guy. All right, come on in. Here, where do you want to sleep? You want to sleep on the couch? You want to sleep in the basement? I got a spare room in the back. Do you want to sleep on there? Here, I'll make you some food too. You have to, and that's what it says. That's how you have to be. It says, do not, if a slave escapes and he comes to you, do not bring him back. Because we're under the assumption that you left for a valid reason. Now, if you're just fucking trying to get away, you're trying to break out of your contract, that's a different story, bud. Your ass is going right the fuck back. But if it's because you're being mistreated, that's a whole different story. And then not only that, but you're also free. So I'll let you hang out here for a couple nights, but I need you to get the fuck out in a couple days. You can't stay here forever. Unless you want to be my slave. I mean, if you want to be my slave, like, hey, listen, I'm okay with that. I got some shit I can make you do. I got some shit I can give you to do. So yeah, there is moral code to owning a slave. So don't listen to that bullshit about oh, they're slaves. They're slaves. They shouldn't be slaves in the first place. Well, slavery is natural. It's a natural. It's part of human. It's part of nature. Like slave driver ants. I love slave driver ants because slave driver ants, what they do, it's a species of ant. What they do is they'll invade other colonies. They'll invade other colonies of ants, go to war, wipe out every fucking buddy, and then they'll take the larva. They'll take the larvae and bring them back to their hive and then raise them as their own and then put them to work. Is that fucking crazy? Love that. And you can't say that humans are above ants because ants have a level of consciousness that not even humans have. Their civilization, ant colonies, ant civilizations, those are more advanced than humans. You know why? Because everyone's got a job. Everyone has a place. Everyone has a function in society. And if you don't do your job, you get the fuck out. I'm a terrible American, by the way. Or am I the best American? I mean, one of my childhood dreams is to be the first and only monarch of the United States. Theocratic monarch. Thank you, Hashem. And make America into the new United States, the United Kingdom of Israel. Make America the new United Kingdom of Israel. I like that idea. And we'll go back to the 13 colonies, but instead of the 13 colonies, we'll have the 13 states, each one of them dedicated to one of the 13 tribes. Well, 12 tribes. The 13th tribe runs the 4th ecclesiastical branch of government. Just like the Levites, because that's basically what the Kingdom of Israel was all about. The Kingdom of Israel was basically what America was supposed to be, technically. You have the officials, you have the magistrates, but then you have the Levites. So there's the ecclesiastical branch. Underneath the ecclesiastical branch, which is governed by the Levites, who have their own rules and laws and shit that they gotta prescribe to. But then underneath them are the magistrates and the officials. So we could actually make that work with America, with the modern American system. And the reason I say a fourth ecclesiastical branch of government is because you have 3 right now. You only have 3 branches of government. That's like, what is that? That's a fucking tricycle. You got a third wheel here. What you doing there, bud? I know, but the one branch is divided into 2. That doesn't matter. It's the one collective. It's one collective organism. If you're gonna have the Senate and the Congress as 2 separate entities within one entity, then you should do it with all the other ones too. Instead of having, that's probably a good idea. That's probably a really good idea. You have 2 judicial branches, you have 2 executive branches, and then you have the two senatorial branches, the 2 sets of representatives. So you basically have 2 governments in one. One government balances out the other one. You want to have a 2-party system? All right, fine. Have a fucking Republican president and a Democratic president at the same time, and they have to work together. And then we'll throw in the fucking ecclesiastical branch, the king, who governs over the government. So the way it works in Israel, well, the way not that Israel. That's not Israel. God gave the Jews Israel, not the UN. But just as the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. And the Lord kicked everybody the fuck out. Get the fuck out. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I can't say for sure. I could be wrong, but maybe somebody from Israel could clarify that. But is in the state of Israel, is tshuva a pastime? Like a national pastime that everybody does? Tshuva? Right? Is everybody doing tshuva all day, every day? Or no? Because last I was watching some video a couple weeks ago of a Jew for Jesus, a different kind of Jew, a Messianic Jew, walking around the streets of Israel, asking people about the Jewish book of the New Testament, and people are like, oh, hey. That's the problem. The Torah doesn't have a sequel. All right, then throw the Talmud away. Throw away Mishnah Torah. Because God didn't write those. The Rambam wrote that, and the fathers wrote the Talmud. What are you talking about? Do you not hear your own hypocrisy, or you just hope that nobody notices? Or you just hope that nobody calls you out? You can't call me anti-Semitic because I'm a Jew. Your mother's not a Jew. My mother doesn't have to be a Jew. My mother doesn't have to be a Jew, bruh. Go read fucking Deuteronomy chapter 23. What to do when an Israelite man has a child with a non-Israelite woman. We got it. Don't worry, motherfucker. We got Torah fucking inscribed in my fucking eyeballs. The Lord, blessed be his name, made sure that I know this fucking law. Up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. What time is it? 1:37? What actual time is it? It's 2:30? Alright, we'll finish this up and then we'll go home. Why? Well, I'm thinking because I want to go to Chinese. But yeah, the dinner stuff doesn't come out until after 3. Yeah, that's why I timed it like this. Yeah, I think we're almost done. We only got like 14 minutes left. 24 minutes left. We fucking need to hang out here for like another 10 minutes, and then we'll start walking back. Because by the time we get back, this will hit like 2 hours. Like, what's the battery on this? Got 28%. We got time. And what are you in a rush for? Hello? Yeah, but take into consideration everything else everything I've been doing all week. Say again? Oh, I know. I didn't think that you were yelling at me. No, it's because the camera's on. Like I'm getting a little feisty. That's it. I know. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Aw, thank you. Okay. No, God was just saying. He's like, all right. How do I even explain that? So you talk to him like that? Yeah, we talk like that. Right? Tell him you better fucking believe it. Yeah. So basically, I have these projects that I'm working on, right? These are future projects, as in they're projects that we're working on now because of the benefits from the future. One of them is being syllogism with Aristotle, and what he just said is like, I know how excited you were to get on to chapter 23, so I don't want you to get lost with what you're doing, and then go to the Chinese and then get too full, so that you get back and you're like, oh man, I wish I could do syllogism. I know, I appreciate it. He's just reminding me. Well, look at it like this too, Hashem, is whatever happens, happens. If we get there and get too gorged, it's because it was your will. My Lord, I love you too. You can't make kissy faces at God like that. Why? Who the fuck said? Don't worry about me. As a matter of fact, why don't you go read Torah, where it says, where every single Israelite of the 12 tribes, with the exception of, we're not talking about Levites, we're talking about everybody else, don't ever tell a mechanic how to clean a car, how to fix a car. Okay? Do not tell a Levite how to do his job. Never, 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 never. Don't tell a prophet how to be a prophet. Calling yourself a prophet now. Yep. Because here's the thing. Tell him the facts. So here's the facts. Straight from the Lord himself. If he wasn't a prophet, then he would be marked for death. Just like Jesus. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Did Jesus ever actually speak for you? That should have been a dead giveaway. It's a different situation. I get it. There's that whole Antichrist thing. I know. It's very complicated. I'm still learning it. Well, yeah, that would make sense, because that would be why Jesus never actually spoke. Oh, that's right. He was just a regular rabbi. He was just a regular dude. He was a regular dude who was just fed up with all the hypocrisy, and he was doing all the stuff as a prophet, and he took it because he knew that's what was going. Okay, I get it. I mean, it wasn't not a prophet. It wasn't not a prophet. It just wasn't who he got hyped up to be. Although he did become that after his death. That's why he had to die, because that all the pain and suffering, that he went through was literally for the sake of elevating and evolving his soul to a point where he could embody that archetype that needed to be embodied because of the future. For the future. Just changing the song again. Why do you get whiny like that? I don't know. Is it whiny? I don't feel like it is. I'm getting like fucking riled up today. That's okay. Right. So what we have to look forward to today is getting back to syllogistic thought. And did we ever get back to what we were talking about? Because, right, Hashem, we were actually on the way. Right, because we were about to get into the black and white thinking, yes and no, up and down. So basically what syllogism is teaching us how to do, because like I was saying before, syllogism is more than just finding the relativity between this and that. We're finding the relativity of this and that with the aid of a third thing that is either predicable of or predicated on the previous two. So there's three forms of syllogism. So it's either we relate A to C and B to C, or we relate C to B and A, or we relate B and A to C, right? Did I do that right? No, I didn't. The first figure syllogism would be A to C and C to B. Second form would be B and A to C. Oh, no. Second form would be C to B and A, and then third figure would be B and A to C. So essentially what we're trying to find out is, so notice what we didn't do. The fourth figure is the syllogism itself. Okay? So technically, not every syllogistic figure is going to form a syllogism, but every syllogistic form has the potential to form a syllogism, except for the first figure syllogism, which also has the potential of not being a syllogism. That's true. But second and third form syllogism can further be refined into a first figure syllogism, and then refined even further down to its universal components. And am I wrong in thinking that that's what a perfect syllogism is? It's when because there's three forms. There's three forms of propositions and premises. There's the universal premise, there's the particular premise, and then there's the indefinite premise. So what we just got finished learning is how to make a syllogism from indefinite propositions through the use of problematic premises, as in not necessary, as in possible. It is possible that A belongs to B, but it is necessary that B belongs to C. But because B belongs to C and it's possible that A belongs to C, and it's necessary that B belongs to C, that it's also necessary that C belongs to some B. And because C belongs to some B, then it is therefore possible for A to belong to some B. And that's what I was getting at, is notice how in all three figures, in the first figure, we're relating A to C and C to B. In the second figure, we're relating C to A and B. And then in the third figure, we're relating B and A to C. But what we have not yet done is relate A to B or B to A. So you can't actually form a syllogism. You can't do anything with A and B without C. There has to be a C. Do you understand? In order to form the syllogism, which is ultimately just going to prove the predication of B to A or A to B. Through C. It's kind of like, what's a good example? The one I used this morning. My past self, my future self, and my present self. My future self is predicated of and predicated on my future self, who is predicated on and predicated of my past self. But in order to actually see the connection between the two, there has to be the present self. So we form a perfect syllogism. My past, my future, and my past, my present, and my future. My past, my future, and my present. We form a perfect syllogism because of the fact that we don't need to go any further with the proof. So what I mean by that is, so with an imperfect syllogism, when we're working with imperfect syllogism, essentially we need to introduce the idea of hypothetical syllogism. So, and the notion of reductione ad impossibile, which is essentially, we're using a hypothetical syllogism to prove a syllogism by disproving its contradiction. Well, we know the sky isn't black because that's what black looks like. Essentially. We know, and then going back to the demonstration that we used before, is we know that A will belong to some B because A may belong to some C. And being that B necessarily belongs to C altogether, we know that A, which may belong to C, may also belong to some B. Because C belongs to some B. Because B belongs to all C. So the universal premise like that, B belongs to all C. We're going to start walking back. Because we know a universal premise like that A or B belongs to all C, a universal premise, when converted, a universal converts to a particular. So think of it like B as a big circle and C as a little circle inside that big circle. So all of C is predicated on B, but not all of B is going to be encompassed by C. So that's why we say B is the totality that encapsulates C, but C is just an aspect that exists within B. And being that A may belong to C, just logically speaking, that if it does belong to C, then it also has to belong to some B, for which C belongs. Because if it was not possible for A to belong to C, or if it wasn't possible for A to belong to B, then that would contradict the fact that it's possible, not necessary, possible, that A may belong to C. Because if it turns out, if we do further research and we find out that A does in fact belong to C, even if A just belongs to some C, just by the very nature that it belongs to some C, will also relate it to some B, because of the fact that C is encapsulated within B. But now mind you, that's like, the less refined a syllogism is, the more complex it gets. So we were just working with a third figure syllogism. So when we converted the BC relationship, and we concluded that C belongs to some B, what we did was we switched the places. We took C, which is the middle term that was sitting outside of the equation, and put it back where it belongs. So a second and third figure syllogism is a little bit fucked up. So it's kind of like A and B are the major and minor terms. C is the middle term. So the middle has to be put back into place, which is in between the major and minor terms, so that we can reevaluate the premises in a way that we can reach a more perfect conclusion through the first figure. And if you were paying attention before I went on that fucking rant, we refine second and third figure syllogisms by perfecting them into refining them. We perfect them by refining them into first figure, and then eventually reducing them down to the universal. Greek alchemy. I didn't forget. It's just when I jump around, I don't have a choice. It's the boss. So that's why I'm like excited to get back and start working through chapter 23, because of the fact that if chapter 23 is going to challenge me as much as challenge me as much as it did, then that means that chapter 24 is going to be even cooler. And if chapter 24 is cooler than chapter 23, then chapter 25 is going to be fucking insane. And mind you, I'm like I said when we first fucking started, I'm only halfway through the first book. But once we get to the first book, then we're